Once again, now the news in full. Confirmed cases of coronavirus have increased to 276 in Nigeria after 22 new infections were reported in Lagos, Bauchi, Edo states, and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, on Wednesday. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control made the announcement at 9 in the morning via its Twitter handle. Of the 22 new cases, it said 15 were recorded in Lagos State and 4 in the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. It also said that 2 new cases were reported in Bauchi State and 1 in Edo State. According to the NCDC, 6 deaths have been recorded so far and 44 patients discharged. The Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, has announced the discharge of 7 more COVID-19 patients. This brings the number of patients discharged in Lagos to 39. The governor made the announcement through its Twitter handle on Thursday. The patients include 1 female and 6 males. 3 of the discharged male patients are foreign nationals, 2 Ukrainians and 1 Italian. The statement reads that the 7 patients have been fully recovered and tested negative twice consecutively for COVID-19. Members of the Federal Capital Territory, Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, FCT, Malam Muhammad Bello, has disclosed that more coronavirus patients who have been confirmed negative will soon be discharged. Bello said the FCT administration was ready for likely isolation of patients to check the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic. He disclosed this at the FCT COVID-19 media briefing. No fewer than 7 patients earlier diagnosed with coronavirus and managed in the isolation center in Abuja were within the week discharged after fully recovering from the dreaded virus. And from Kwara State, the state government has announced a total lockdown of the entire 16 local government areas until further notice. The chairman technical committee on COVID-19 and the deputy governor of the state, Kayode Alabi, announced this while addressing journalists in Ilorin. He said the order will take effect from 6 o'clock on Thursday. The market will, however, open on Mondays, Tuesdays and Wednesdays between 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon. Another free day was observed by residents of Ogun State as the COVID-19 14-day lockdown order entered the 6th day. Kolawole Osho reports the mood in town as well as the gesture of the general manager, Ogun State Parking Management Scheme, Engineer Wale Yusuf, to the staff and non-staff of the organization to lessen the effect of the lockdown on them. The report is presented in this package.
It was another opportunity for residents of Ogun State to restock their homes as the state government again relaxed the stay-at-home order to contain the spread of COVID-19 in the state. Ogtv News visited major markets in the state capital, Abeokuta. Banks were also open to customers, but in conformity with social distancing advice, as they were called in batches, while the automated teller machines ATM were also kept busy. Motor parks in the metropolis, however, were scanty due to the ban on interstate movements, but some major roads experienced gridlock. Meanwhile, General Manager of the State Parking Management Scheme, Engineer Wale Yusuf, seized the opportunity to put smiles on the faces of his staff by giving them relief items to reduce the effect of the stay-at-home order. Engineer Yusuf says the gesture is to complement efforts of the state government.
Aside what I'm just doing, I've done the same thing to other people that are not even my own staff. We've given them sanitizers, we've given them hand gloves. Today they are collecting gari, noodles, rice, beans, and smoked catfish, and even cash to support them. It's not that I have money to throw around, but from the little stipend that you can give, God will continue to replenish your pocket.
Give appreciation to our boss, in person of Alhaji Yusuf Adewale. He has given us sanitizers, pack of catfish, gari, and beans, and cash. We are giving rice as well and noodles, but we really appreciate this a lot.
He also enjoined residents of the state to smart parking system of the organization during the relaxation of the lockdown order in order not to hinder activities of other road users.
And still talking COVID-19 lockdown. In obedience to the stay-at-home order by the government in an effort to control the spread of COVID-19 pandemic, Ogun State again went into a lockdown as the 7 hours of grace between 7 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon of Thursday, 8 April elapsed. Roving crew of OGTV News across major areas in Abeokuta observed appreciable level of compliance by the people. Peter Falomon reports.
Another 7 hours of relief for residents of Ogun State, not only to restock their homes with food items, but also to attend to various businesses and other contemporary matters. For the fear of being arrested for non-compliance to the lockdown, major marketplaces, stalls, shops, and other private businesses came under lock as commuters were in haste to beat the 2 o'clock deadline. However, other businesses that are free to open, such as fuel stations, food vendors, and personnel on essential duties, were allowed by enforcement agencies. Indeed, in what was a beehive of activities in buying and selling at major markets visited in Abeokuta, the capital city of Ogun State, became deserted by 2:30 p.m. owing to the lockdown. According to Ogun State government, the lockdown in the state will again be relaxed in the next 48 hours. Continuous hand washing, use of sanitizer and social distancing, as well as observing other health tips, will assist individuals in checkmating COVID-19 pandemic. Peter Falomo, OGTV News.
Wife of Ogun State Governor Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun has urged stakeholders and religious leaders not to relent in synergizing with the state government to cater for the needs of vulnerable people in order to reduce the effects of the spread of COVID-19 in the state. Mrs. Abiodun gave this charge while receiving relief materials donated by Emmanuel Chapel Methodist Church for Lagos, Ogun, and Ekiti states. Adebola Oshomoji covered the event held in Banana Island, Lagos.
As a way of complementing government effort in addressing the need of the vulnerable in the country, Emmanuel Chapel Methodist Church, Lagos, donated 3,300 relief materials to Ogun State government. During the presentation of the food items, the convener, Right Reverend Koyi Ajayi, says the relief materials are mailing for the poor in the society.
Hunger virus as something that may indeed kill more people and cause greater problems than coronavirus itself. As we know, there are over 1 million people affected by coronavirus, but there are more than 1 million people, more than 20, 30, 40 million people that are hungry. In this country, we're told that 70% of us live below poverty line.
Receiving the materials, the State Commissioner for Women Affairs and Social Development, Mrs. Fumilayo Efuakwe, says that the relief materials came at a time they would complement the state government effort towards reaching out to the needy during the COVID-19 lockdown.
On behalf of the Governor of Ogun State and Her Excellency Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun, and of course our other states, Ekiti and Lagos State, we want to show appreciation to Emmanuel Chapel for this gesture that they have done. It's remarkable, and we are surprised anyway, because we had to come from Ogun State and Ekiti State. You could just decide that you just want to do for Lagos State and not remember us. So we're so grateful. We want to appreciate the chaplain, the chairman of the relief committee, the logistic commander, and every member of the church and all the donors. We just want to say thank you. We appreciate you.
In her reaction, Mrs. Abiodun applauds the church for remembering the downtrodden in the country.
Beyond 2019, we pray that all of us will learn how to reach out to the poor, because indeed when we reach out to the poor, we're lending a hand unto God. And God has provided for us alone, and for us to reach out to the less privileged. So thank you very much for this laudable gesture that you have, and more grease to your elbows.
Mrs. Abiodun thereafter assured the church that the items will be distributed accordingly to cater for the needy in the state. Adebola Oshomoji, OGTV News.
The Ogun State League of Imams and Alfas have donated a sum of 2.5 million naira to the state government to fight the spread of COVID-19 pandemic. While receiving the check on behalf of the state government, the Deputy Governor, Engineer Noimot Salako Oyedele, urged residents not to use the window of relief during the lockdown to embark on needless journeys. Tunde Olaniran reports that NASFAT, Nigeria Society of Engineers, and NYSA also presented gift items to the state government. His report.
Ever since the index case of COVID-19 in February, Ogun State government has enjoyed tremendous cooperation from various organizations and individuals. The League of Imams and Alfas donates a sum of 2.5 million naira to the state government.
So we see that in Ogun State during lockdown, there is very good compliance, but the relief times that the governor has allowed for people to go around and do their small businesses, people tend to move around and are still gathering in large numbers. So we want to explain to people that that time is not a time for loitering around or going on needless journeys. It's essential journeys. That's what the relief is for.
The Wakil Muslimi of Yoruba land, Edo and Delta, says prayers are being offered to Allah to put an end to the pandemic.
We commend the outstanding effort of our governor, Prince Dapo Abiodun. We pray for Ogun State and Nigeria. The Almighty Allah will protect us and guide us.
NASFAT also presented their gift of food items to the state government.
That the Ogun State is doing much to alleviate the COVID-19, which is presently in our environment. And that we feel is very important for us to do the needful.
The Deputy Governor promises that the current administration in the state will make judicious use of the donations.
But that you have considered it worthwhile for you to also support the government's efforts. We thank you very much for that. And I believe that that is a sign of your confidence in the ability of this government to use these resources judiciously and to also reach places that perhaps NASFAT may not be able to reach. So we say thank you very much to you. We really do appreciate this.
Moyo Soluwa Kolawole, a serving corps member in the state, was led to the Deputy Governor's office by the state coordinator of NYSC to present 200 face masks manufactured by her to the state government.
We've been on lockdown, activities, no work activities, so I've been doing nothing. And then I learned some skills from the side, as skills acquisition, entrepreneurship development. So we're basically challenged by the DG of NYSC to be creative with the skills, to develop more on it. So that's what I did. I just sat down and thought that I could actually do something, impact in my own way to reduce the spread of the coronavirus. So I made the face masks.
You must have seen our core members, the medical personnel. They are still very much on ground in Ogun State, assisting during this period of the pandemic. We also have some of our core members who have produced sanitizers. They have produced liquid soap needed for the washing of hands. And this is just another one of such that Ms. Moyosoluwa Kolawole has done today. In her own little way, she has produced 200 face masks.
The Nigeria Society of Engineers also made the list of donors to the Ogun State government to contain the spread of COVID-19.
I've come here as a representative of the president of the Nigerian Society of Engineers Engineer Babagana Mohammed, FNSC, as well as branch chairman of other branches of NSC in Ogun State, to make a presentation of 1 million naira as a show of support to the state government in their fight against COVID-19.
Coronavirus is a pandemic which every nation of the world is contending with the aim of putting an end to it. Tunde Olaniro, OGTV News.
Lafarge Africa PLC has donated 2 ambulances to the Ogun State government to curtail the spread of COVID-19 in the state. While receiving the gesture, the State Deputy Governor, Engineer Noimot Salako Oyedele, appreciated the company for being supportive at this critical period. Our reporter Yusuf Ganil witnessed the handing over event. His report.
Lafarge African PLC, one of the notable industries in Ogun State, has donated 2 ambulances to the state government in response to COVID-19 in the state as part of its corporate social responsibilities. The State Deputy Governor, Engineer Noimot Salako Oyedele, reflect that Lafarge as an organization remains one of the supportive industries since the emergence of COVID-19 in the state.
We thank you very much for this generous donations and for the support that you have rendered to us. Lafarge is a very key member of industrial and manufacturing family here in Ogun State, and this mutual relationship is what has led us to where we are today. We will continue to work with you as we manage this pandemic across the state. These pieces of equipment will definitely improve our ability to respond to any flare-ups or any issues that we see across and any increase in patients that we see across the state.
The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Tommy Coker, appreciates the organization for the kind gesture.
You gave all your resources that were available to you at the index case for us to be able to contain the virus, and I believe that is one of the reasons that today Ogun State is able to have the few cases that we have, fewer than most states that started after us. For this, we are very grateful.
Folake Odegbami from Lafarge African PLC says the gesture is to support the efforts of the government to eradicate the spread of COVID-19.
Index case was discovered in Nigeria back in February, so we've had a lot of collaboration with the Ogun State government. So during the process, we sort of understood the need to be able to do our own little bit to support the government, so that as quickly as possible we can bring an end to this pandemic within the state as well as the country. So essentially that's the reason why we're here today.
The company also promised more intervention to help curb the spread of coronavirus in the state. Yusuf Ganiyu, OGTV News.
And still to come in the news, President Buhari grants former Bendel State Governor, Professor Ambrose Ali, others pardon. More news and reports in part 2 of the news.
From concept to delivery, every step is a mark of quality and experience. Our creative excellence guarantees precision, elegance, and class, and that's for all people with good taste in fashion. Leaning on sophisticated tailoring technology, we produce thousands of garments per day. Our Tailoring and Vocational Institute is next to none, training and mentoring hundreds of young and proficient tailors every year. Enroll or sponsor a candidate today. Wesley Creations for exclusive fashion.
back. We are still watching OGTV main news. The importance of public-private partnership has again been displayed by the management and staff of Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company by providing succor to residents of Ogun State through donations to the state government to cushion the effects of coronavirus outbreak. Deputy Governor of the state, Engineer Noimot Salako Ojedele, stated this while receiving the company's relief materials in her office at Okimoson, Abeokuta. Ife Sholade's report is presented in this package.
The Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company joined the list of organizations that have shown support to the Ogun State government's drive to eliminate COVID-19 pandemic from the state. The company has also supported the state with relief materials to sustain the needy and the vulnerable in the state.
We are donating 2,500 bags of 5 kg rice, and we're also donating 3,000 bags of semovita, 1 kg, and then 2,500 cartons of noodles to the state government in support of the COVID-19 relief package. So that's generally why we're here. To the tune of estimated value is about 11 million, and this is not restricted to Ogun State, but it covers all the states in which we operate.
Engineer Ademola Adewumi also highlights other measures being deployed by IBEDC to contain the spread of the novel coronavirus aside the donations.
At this point in time, we are slowing down on this connection of airing customers, and we're ensuring that supply is adequately catered for. We have what we call essential staff on standby to ensure that all our lines are up, all our feeders are up, and to the best of their ability within our capacity, we will ensure that the supply is as steady as possible.
Deputy Governor of the state, Engineer Noimot Salako Yedele, while appreciating the company, says this kind of humanitarian gesture is needed to complement the state government's efforts at combating the pandemic.
Our plan is to feed 500,000 families across the state, and this is a very huge payoff. And I'm very glad to see that IBEDC has responded to the call from the state governor and also the president to support their communities wherever they are, which will go a long way to complementing the efforts of the state government in getting the food parcels outside.
Shall ever admonish the public to maintain the practices of washing their hands regularly with soap and water, sanitizing their hands, covering their noses with face masks, and maintaining social distance.
In keeping to our promises of reaching out to the poor and the vulnerable people during this period of COVID-19 lockdown, the wife of Ogun State Governor, Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun, has extended the distribution food items and relief materials to Ogun East Senatorial District. The people could not but applauded the benevolence of Mrs. Abiodun at this period of the pandemic, as the palliative package will give them the needed succor. Our correspondent, Adebola Oshomoji, has the details.
In furtherance of our effort in bringing succor to the vulnerable people during the lockdown period, wife of Ogun State Governor Mrs. Bamidele Abiodun has extended the distribution of food items and relief materials to Ogun East Senatorial District. The items were distributed round Ijebu Ode, Ijebu Northeast, Ijebu East, Odogbolu, Aton, Ososa, Irewon, Erunwon, Odolowu, Okunwa, and Ayepe Ijebu, as the beneficiaries applauded the kind gesture of the governor's wife.
We really appreciate the governor's wife for her efforts to remember the needy ones, the widows, those who are helpless in this season. We pray that God should continue to enrich their purse.
It was ascertained by Mrs. Abiodun that the distribution exercise continues during the lockdown stipulated period in the state. Adebola Oshomuji, OGTV News.
Succor came the way of aged and underprivileged people in Yewa North local government area with the Ogun State government relief materials distributed to them. The people applauded the move by the state governor, Prince Dakbo Abiodun, for remembering them at this period of economic downturn due to the lockdown order. Details of the distribution exercise are in this package. We'll bring you details in the course of the bulletin. Iyalode of Yoruba Land, Chief Alabalosin, has reaffirmed a commitment to always remain a pillar of support to women and the vulnerable in society. She made this known while distributing food items, clothing materials, and cash gifts to women and lepers at Iberekodo Lepers Colony, Abeokuta, in commemoration of Good Friday. Shemilori Amore has the details.
It's a sacred time of the year for Christians as faithful celebrate this year's Holy Week in their various homes due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In a yearly tradition, Iyalode of Yorubaland joined lepers at their colony in praises and prayers to commemorate the week. She also distributed to them food items, clothing materials, and cash gifts. While presenting similar items to market women, Chief Lawson reiterated a commitment to bringing succor to them and ensuring they do not feel neglected at this critical moment.
This gesture has been on for the past 38 years with these less privileged people. To do it because tomorrow, being Good Friday, is a lockdown when nobody is allowed to go out. So it's something that we always share the good fellowship with these people every year during the time of Easter to let them know that they are not forgotten. And they too, they have to trust their God in whatever position they must have found themselves.
The Iyalode of Yorubaland also urges people to adhere strictly to the government's directives at this period and ensure practice of proper hygiene.
Which means tomorrow, Good Friday, we will not be able to go. And we will not be able to be somebody that is not obeying the law of the land. We have to obey the law. And let them too know that coronavirus, what they have to do by cleaning their hands, by making sure they are living in good environment, healthy environment, and making sure that they obey the law of the land. That when there is no going out, they must not come out. And when they have to come out, it's between only 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. and they must return before 2 p.m. That is the reason why we have been with them today.
The beneficiaries expressed appreciation for the kind gesture.
Ìjọ́kíjọ́ tí ìyá wa bẹ̀ wá wò kí ni wọ́n dùn. Ìjọ́ táwọn elétò ìlera bá kọjá kí ni wọ́n dùn nítorí pé wọ́n fi wá sílẹ̀. Àsìkò tó dẹ̀ ní ká dúró sílẹ̀ yìí ohun tó yẹ ká jẹ wọ́n fún wa gẹ́gẹ́ bí ọlọ́jà ìgbàlà wà táwa lábẹ́ Ìyálóde Àlàbá Olúwaṣeun lọ́sìn.
Lọ́dọọdún ló máa ń wá ń ṣe nǹkan ìwúrí fún wa pàápàá aṣọ tí ó wà lọ́dún tó kọjá rèé òun ni mo wọ̀ yìí so kò dẹ̀ wá fi wá sílẹ̀ nígbà kankan rárá ìgbàkúgbà ló máa ń bẹ̀ wá wò.
Ọdọọdún náà wá síbí ìgbà míì wọ́n lè wá kí wa láì tiẹ̀ jẹ́ pé wọ́n aránṣẹ́ sí wọn wọ́n á kàn dídì wá ìgbà míì wọ́n lè gbóúnjẹ rán àwọn èèyàn wọ́n á gbé wá fún wa a dúpẹ́ lọ́wọ́ màmá wa àdúrà tá ń gbà fún wa Olúwa lọ́rọ̀ ẹ̀mí wọn á gùn fún wa.
The Iyalode of Yorubaland Chief Mrs. Alaba Lawson has been doing this for the past 38 years. Shemilori Amore, OGTV News.
We now bring you the report on the distribution of relief materials in Yewa North local government. Succor came the way of aged and underprivileged people in Yewa North local government area with the Ogun State government relief materials distributed to them. The people applauded the move by the state governor, Prince Dakbo Abiodun, for remembering them at this period of economic downturn due to the lockdown order. Details of the distribution exercise are in this package.
With the 14-day lockdown taking its toll on socioeconomic activities, it has become imperative for government to provide for the people economic stimulus package that could sustain them. As Ogun State government intensified its distribution network to the 20 local government areas, it has reached the people of Yewa North Local Government Council in Ogun West Senatorial District. Commissioner for Housing, Jagmolu Akonde Omoniyi, who led the team to the council area, reiterated that the palliative is for the aged and the underprivileged, and it is intended to cover the period of the lockdown aimed to stop the spread of coronavirus.
My advice is be patient, it will get to your doorstep, and be law-abiding, believe to live up to the expectations required of them for social distancing, using washing our hands, and using of sanitizers to make sure that this deadly virus, this pandemic, the coronavirus, does not get to us, and by the grace of God, it will not get to our land.
The team leader reaffirmed the precautionary measures put in place by relevant health authorities, which include regular hand washing, social distancing, and more importantly, adherence to the lockdown order as government ramp up support to curb the COVID-19 outbreak. A member of the team, who is the chairman of Yewa North Local Government Area Palliative Distribution Committee, Honorable David Bankole, lauded the initiative and pledged even distribution of the food items in all the wards of the council area. Permanent Secretary, Minister of Finance, Mr. Azan Adekunle, disabuse the people's mind on misinformation being peddled through the social media. The Alaja of Yewa Land, Alaja Anifat Abbas, thanked the Ogun State government for its kind-heartedness to support the people at this material time.
The governor of Ogun State is trying very hard to make sure that this lockdown, people are not really hungry. So what we are seeing behind me is the package that the governor has sent to Yewa North local government to give to the less privileged, the elderly people in the society.
Beneficiaries across the local government area appreciated the governor for making the relief materials available and accessible to them.
The premises of Ogun State Television, OGTV, was also today decontaminated as part of efforts of Ogun State government to ensure its environments are generally safe to ward off the spread of coronavirus in the state. Environmental health officials of both the Ministry of Environment and Abeokuta South Local Government carried out the exercise. It was done at the new studio of the station and at its old premises, the Broadcasting House on Ajibo Road, Abeokuta. The decontamination of OGTV is to neutralize dangerous substances, radioactivity, or germs from the premises of the People's Tele. The spread of the dreaded COVID-19 had spurred the state, apart from 14-day lockdown, which entered the 6th day today. Government has also regularly on different media platforms been enlightening residents of the state on safety measures to take against the spread of the virus. More Nigerians living in West African nations have started returning to the country through land borders following the rise in COVID-19 cases globally. The Minister of Foreign Affairs, Geoffrey Onyema, at a press conference organized by the President Task Force on COVID-19 in Abuja, and 67 persons had already arrived at the country's land border. The minister, who did not indicate the land border the returnees were, stated that 24 more would come in on Thursday. The minister stated that both batches 91 of returnees would be isolated for 14 days and put under surveillance for possible COVID-19 symptoms before they could proceed to their different destinations in the country. The Nigerian Immigration Service, in a statement, confirmed that 67 Nigerians had arrived at the semi-border in Lagos State. Last month, 127 Nigerians, mostly from Osun State, arrived in the country through the Idiroko border in Ogun State. The state governor, Dapo Abiodun, handed the returnees over to his Osun State counterpart, Boyega Oyitola, who isolated them in Ejigbo. 18 of the returnees have tested positive for COVID-19. A call has gone to governments at all levels, the private sectors and individuals, not to only think about this COVID-19 period, but what comes after this pandemic is gotten rid of, as it has really battered the world's economy. These were submissions of guests on OGTV's current affairs program, Democratic Path, focusing on consequences of lockdown on the economy. Dr. Benga Adioye, a chartered accountant, Honorable Babatunde Adeluola, an economist, and Mr. Solomon Enilolubo, an entrepreneur, all posited that all ends need to be on deck to ensure that the world is able to bounce back after the coronavirus disease.
Do we want these companies to survive, or do we want them dead? For example, in the United States of America, the government is already trying to support these very small companies, the SMEs. As a matter of fact, even the workers, they are giving them paychecks and say, okay, this is what you earn in a month. Okay, we'll give you this amount just for you to survive. So you don't have to think about how do I pay my rent, how do I, sort some domestic bills and all of that. And so that is what we also need to look at. The government needs to come alive and say, okay, what are we going to do to help SMEs? So, some of the things they've said, I think CBN has said they want to do is still about loans. I'm telling you, it's still putting SMEs in further trouble. I guess what we should have is grants. Okay, it's not like we called for this grant. It's not like it is our own doing that we want this grant. It is not what we anticipated. So the government should look at a way to give our grants to sound SMEs so that they don't go under. If these SMEs go down, it means we are going to increase the high level of unemployment we already have.
Now, between the production aspect of the economy, distribution of goods and services, and then the final consumption by the consumers, the oil is funds, because it's all about distribution of an exchange of wealth, of money, the funds that go about. So if the funds are not going from production to distribution to consumption for a particular period of time, there's going to be chaos. Companies will have to shut down in a matter of weeks, days, in a very short period. Cash flow is very key to the economy surviving. You'll be surprised that a company that has survived for hundreds of years can close down in 2-3 months.
In 3 months.
If there's no cash flow, they can go down in 2-3 months. Because if they're not making any form of revenue, how do they pay salaries? How do they pay rent to their landlords? How do they pay back the bank loans that they're using to survive? And things like that.
You have 10 staff with you, and we are able to prove that you have assisted the nation to mop up the people that are unemployed, and then you give all of those things. So, but we need to take affirmative action. We need to be deliberate. We need to be conscious. It's not that somebody will just talk about it on air and it ends here. So you need to gather professionals who will work it out and say, for those who so state, these are the things they are known for. People in Aba, this is what they do. People in Ogun State, this is what they do. And then you push fund into that, and then to stimulate the economy.
Guests on OGTV's current affairs program, Democratic Path, discussing consequences of lockdown on the economy. President Muhammadu Buhari has granted a presidential pardon to a former governor of Old Bende State, late Professor Ambrose Ali, and foremost nationalist, late Chief Anthony Enahoro. The president also granted pardon to 3 other Nigerians, 2 of whom are ex-military officers. They are ex-Lieutenant Colonel Moses Effiong, Major E.J. Olanrewaju, and Ajayi Olushola Babalola. Interior Minister Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola announced this in Abuja. The minister thanked and commended the president for demonstrating great statesmanship by pardoning those people who were part of the great Nigerian history. The federal government has granted amnesty to no fewer than 2,600 inmates as part of measures to decongest prison facilities in the country amid the coronavirus pandemic. The Minister of Interior, Chief Rauf Aregbesola, disclosed this at a press conference at the headquarters of the Nigerian Correctional Service in Abuja. He said at least 70 inmates who are serving various terms for crimes against society will be processed and released later today. The minister said the affected inmates include inmates that are 60 years and above, those suffering from ill health likely to terminate in death, convicts serving 3 years and above, as well as those having less than 6 months to serve. Others are inmates with mental issues and inmates with an optional fine not exceeding 50,000 naira. In a symbolic gesture of amnesty given to 2,600 inmates across Nigeria, 41 federal inmates and 29 FCT inmates, making a total 17 inmates who met the criteria have been released today from the Kuje Custodial Center in Abuja. The governors of the 36 states under whose jurisdiction most of the inmates were incarcerated will complete the exercise in line with the federal principles. The Federal Ministry of Science and Technology, in collaboration with the Ministry of Health, through its agency, the National Space Research and Development Agency, NASDA, has flagged off a mobile testing vehicle that can be used to test for the COVID-19. The vehicle that is set to use nanotechnology as part of its functions will also be used as a mobile hospital to treat other ailments, including assisting pregnant women, especially in rural areas of the country. Minister of Science and Technology, Dr. Obunaya Onu, who made this revelation, said that the mobile hospital is a game changer that provides adequate medical care on wheels. He said that his intention is to ensure that NASDA, in collaboration with other agencies in the ministry, reproduce smaller models to be used in all parts of the country. Dr. Ono said this in Abuja while commissioning the telemedicine project at the headquarters of NASDA. This is essentially taking the hospital to the home with the facilities so far. Lagos has been doing very well in terms of managing those who have tested positive. So many have recovered, and right now there are signs of community transmission. Before this time, it was those who traveled from outside the country. Although they are not praying for it, but this community transmission continue. They will ensure that the standard of medical attention in the rural areas will be the same even in Lagos State. On business segment of the news, World Bank warns against post-COVID-19 recession in sub-Saharan Africa. More on the business news shortly. On business segments of the news, the World Bank warned on Thursday that sub-Saharan Africa could slip into its first recession in a quarter of a century because of the coronavirus pandemic. The bank projects that economic growth in sub-Saharan Africa will decline from 2.4% in 2019 to 2.1 to 5.1% in 2020, the first recession in the region in 25 years, the bank declared in an assessment. The virus has arrived late in Africa compared to elsewhere, but is spreading rapidly in some countries, and the continent is highly vulnerable to declining trade and tourism, as well as falling prices for oil and mineral exports, it said. The impact on African countries will vary twice yearly, Economic Update report said. The continent's most industrialized country, South Africa, slipped into recession in the final quarter of 2019 and has posted its weakest growth rate ever in the past 5 years, never exceeding 1.3% and in some years falling below 1%. The global coronavirus pandemic is causing an economic crisis unlike any in the past century and will require a massive response to ensure recovery, IMF chief said on Thursday. She warned that the global growth would turn negative in 2020, with 170 of International Monetary Fund's 180 members experiencing a decline in per capita income. Even in the best case, the IMF expects only a partial recovery next year, assuming the virus fades later this year, allowing normal businesses to resume as the lockdown imposed a caution its spread are lifted. Countries already have taken steps worth a combined $8 trillion. But government needs to do more to provide lifelines for business and households to avoid scaring of the economy that would make the recovery so much more difficult. And that was the business segment of the news. On foreign news, about 6.6 million Americans lose their jobs in the last 1 week amid COVID-19 pandemic. Details when I return. Spain has recorded at least 683 coronavirus-related deaths in the last 24 hours. Elsewhere, 6.6 million Americans have lost their jobs in the last week amid coronavirus pandemic. Let's now join Olayinka Shedunke for details.